Hi, Phanessa here. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to knit this beanie here, and I also knitted the knit stitches through the back, so you have this twisted textured background here. So all the information about what I used is going to be linked in the description box, and I'll leave information for this one. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. So you'll need two sizes. So you'll need 16-inch circular needles, and I'm using a US 13 and 15. The smaller size is for the brim and the larger size is for the body. So if you want to use double pointed needles, you can do that as well. Grab a tape measure if you need it, and a pair of scissors, tapestry needle to weave in your ends, and you'll need a stitch marker for working in the round. These are my DIY stitch markers. I'll leave a link for this if you are interested in making your own. So I'm going to switch it up and use this as the main color, and then this is going to be my contrasting color because I have less of this now than this one because of this. Okay, start with the smaller needles, US 13, 9mm. I'm going to cast on 36 stitches. I'm just using the long tail cast on. So I'm working a 1x1 brim, which just means that it's knit 1, purl 1. And the stitch pattern for the body here is in multiples of 6. The link to the pattern is in the description box below as well. Okay, so I like to join with the invisible join, which is going to require me to cast on one more stitch. I have 36 stitches here. Okay, so you just want to join. And I do have a video for this, but I'm just going to quickly just show you how to do it. So holding your needle, making sure that your working yarn is on this side, and none of your stitches are twisted, okay? And so you're going to slip a stitch from here. You always slip purlwise, and then grab the stitch here and pass it over this stitch you just slipped on from the side, and then drop it. Okay, so slip this one over and then grab the second one and then pull it over and drop. So there's our additional stitch that we just eliminated. So now I have 36 stitches again. Place your marker on your needle, and now I'm going to work a 1x1 rib. Again, I worked these through the back loop. If you don't like the twisted stitches, you can just work through the front loop. And that's just for the knit stitches. The purl stitches are going to be as normal. So this is going through the front loop. I'm going to work through the back loop. So knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. Okay, slide your stitches as you work. So I'm going to show you how to do that traditional knitting, which is held on this side of your hand. Continental is the way I just worked my stitches. So I'm at, this one's purl, so I'm at knit. I'm knitting through the back loop, and then yarn in the front, purl your next stitch, yarn in the back. Oops, I almost knit through the front. Knit your next stitch, yarn in the front, and purl. So just repeat. Knit, purl all the way around. You should end with a purl stitch. If you do not, that means you have an odd number of stitches, or you doubled up somewhere along the way. So just check your work and start over if you can. At this point you're on the first round, so frogging is going to be easier than backtracking. Okay, I am near the end here. I want to tug this to make sure it's tight there. That was just the beginning tail. Okay, so I'm going to purl my last stitch. And here is my marker. I'm going to slip that over onto the side. And now I'm just going to repeat that last round. So that first round will be a little tight if you're making a small size like this. But after the first round, it'll be a little bit easier. The stitches are a little bit more loose. So again, I'm just going to repeat the last round. So you want to knit through the back loop and purl. Knit through the back loop and purl. So you're going to repeat these rounds until you're happy with the height of your brim. And because this is a small one, I'm just going to work a few rounds. For this one here, it is 8 rounds. Okay, I'm at the end. Here's my marker. Oops. This is the last stitch. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 rounds. I'm going to switch on over to the larger needle. So if you had interchangeables and you need to change it, then you would do it here. I already have mine attached to a cable, so I'm just going to start there. I'm going to remove my marker for now. Okay, so throughout the body, I'm going to continue working through the back loop. You can change it if you like. I'm just going to keep it consistent for this pattern. So I'm just going to knit every stitch around. So this is usually my setup round if you need to adjust your brim so that you have the right stitch count. So this is 36 and I need multiples of 6, so this is fine. But if you needed to increase, then you would just work a KFB, however many you need to come to the number that is in multiples of 6. Let's say I casted on 40 stitches and I need 42 to be able to work the stitch pattern in multiples of 6. Then I'll just increase 2 stitches around my brim. Just space them out, preferably right at the beginning and somewhere in the middle. And I like to work KFBs for my increase, but you can work your increase however you want. All that information will be available in the pattern. Okay, I'm almost at the end here. Okay, so I've switched on over to my larger size. I'm going to place my marker back. Okay, so I want to grab my contrasting color. I'm going to slip 5 stitches. So I'm just going to place this right at the beginning and hold it with my hand so it doesn't move. Leave a tail so you could weave that in later. So when you're slipping the stitches on the body, you want your yarn in the front, okay? And you slip your stitches purlwise as if to purl, which means you insert like this as if you're purling. So you want to slip 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. Okay. So it is very important that when you slip your stitches, you want this very loose. Okay, so more loose than the width of these stitches. That's because you're going to pull this up later and you want to make sure that there's enough slack so that it doesn't scrunch up your body or the body of your beanie. Okay, so now we're going to work a bobble stitch. Okay, so you want to slip 5 purlwise with your yarn in the front, make sure it's loose, and in the next stitch you're going to work a bobble stitch. So remember, this is loose, so I like to kind of hold on to that while I'm working my stitches so that I don't tug on it. Okay, to work a bobble, you're going to knit front, knit back, and knit front, all in this one stitch here. So I'm going to knit front, knit back, and then knit front again. And then you can drop this stitch. Now I'm going to turn and I'm going to purl those 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Turn it again and knit these 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Turn again and purl. 1, 2, 3. And finally turn again, and we're going to knit these 3 stitches together. So insert your needle through all 3 and knit. So now you've created this basically long set here that's going to bulge out when you continue knitting. Okay, now we're just going to repeat that. So we're going to slip 5, make sure your working yarn is in the front, and when you're done slipping, just slide this over to make sure it's stretched out so that you know how long you need this and the length of this, and then loosen it up a little bit. Now we're going to work another bobble. Knit front, knit back, and knit front. So because I held this with my hand, it stayed in place without tugging. Turn, purl 3, 1, 2, 3, turn, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, turn again, purl 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we knit 3 together, turn and knit these 3 together. If it wants to go on the back, just make sure you push it towards the front. Okay, so repeat that all the way around. Slip 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and bobble. Knit front, knit back, and knit front. Turn, purl 3, 1, 2, 3, turn, knit 3, turn again, purl 3, 1, 2, 3, turn and knit these 3 together. So I'm almost at the end. I have these 5 to slip, and then I'm going to work a bobble in the last stitch. Okay, slipped 5, make sure it's loose, and then a bobble. So we got front, back, and front. So just kind of give that a little tug. Okay, so I'm going to slip my marker, and then we're going to slip 5, knit 1. So we're not making the bobble, but we're still going to slip 5 and knit 1. Yarn in the front still, slip 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to knit this next stitch. You want to make sure that this strand is the same length as this one. But this one's a little hard to tell because this one is not attached to anything, but you still want it loose when it's spread out over the 5 stitches. The thing that I ran into, the problem that I ran into, is there's this hole right here from where you slipped to make your bobble, and then the second one that you slipped and knitted. Okay, so this is the first slipped round, which is when you create the bobble, and then this, the one we're working right now, is the second slipped round, and then you just knit on top. But what ends up happening is it kind of spreads. I don't know if it's because I knit too loose, so I want to make a little adjustment to kind of fix that. So I'm basically looking for the main color right at the top. Grab that contrasting color, main color. Sorry, this was my contrasting color in this one, so I gotta learn to switch my brain. And then I'm going to knit these two together through the back loop. I'd love to hear if you have other suggestions for keeping the bobble down. Seems like it's working, but we'll see in the end. Okay, let's cross our fingers and hope that works out. Okay, so I'm going to repeat all the way around, slip 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we want to make sure the strands are the same length. And then we're going to knit this one with the strand below. So grab that main color, and then I'm going to knit these two together through the back loop. So repeat around. Knit these two through the back. Just double check to make sure that's loose. I kind of pulled it tight when I knitted that stitch right there. Okay, I'm at the end. This is going to be my last knit stitch here with the bobble. This one isn't going to be tight because it was loose from before when we switched colors, but make sure you don't pull that too loose. I'm going to knit these two together through back loop. Make sure you tighten that. Okay, so now we are going to move our marker. Okay, so now I'm going to knit with the main color for 4 rounds. And then on the 5th round, we're going to pick these up like this right here. So I'm going to drop my contrasting. I'm just going to carry the colors up on the inside. So like this. And again, I am choosing to knit through the back loop for every stitch on the body as well. So just go ahead and knit every stitch for 4 rounds. When you get to the contrasting color here, you're just going to knit it. Now I'm ready to knit under these loose strands here. So we always want to do that in the center stitch of the 5. So remember, it was slip 5 and then bobble. Okay, so what these first 5 stitches, we're going to knit the first 2, knit the 3rd one under these strands, and then knit the next 2. Again, I'm going through the back loop still. Okay, now I'm going to bring my needle under these 2 strands and then knit through the back loop and then bring my loops over. So my needle goes under and back up. Okay, now we're going to knit 5 and knit under loose strands. So this is why it is important that you keep those strands loose when you're slipping your stitches, so that when you pull it up on this round, it won't, start puckering and pulling all your stitches together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we're going to knit under these 2 loose strands. So when you knit it, you can just pull it under and up, instead of what I did here where I knitted it and then I pulled it over. Okay, so repeat that all the way around. Knit 5 and then knit under loose strands. Again, I'm working through the back loops. If you're just working through the front loop, then you'll just repeat it through the front loop. So just keep it consistent. Okay, under these 2 loose strands. Back up. So I'm at the end of my round. I just worked under loose strands here, and I have 3 stitches left. I'm just going to knit my 3 stitches through the back loop. Slip my marker. Okay, so I'm going to work 1 more round of knit stitches, and then we will work the bobbles again. So just 1 round of knit stitches. Again, I am knitting through the back loop. I'm at the end. This is my last stitch. Move my marker. Okay, so now I want to pick up my contrasting color, and we're going to work the bobbles again. This time we're staggering where the bobbles are. So right here, we started here, and then the next set of bobbles are in between. So that's going to be worked right here where we knit it under our loose strands. I'm going to drop my main color. So I'm going to pick up my contrasting color. So we're going to slip the first 2, but we're going to leave the yarn in the back. So we're going to slip 2, and then we're going to work a bobble. So knit front, knit at the back, and knit to the front. Turn, purl 3, turn, knit 3, turn, purl 3, turn, and knit 3 together. Okay, so now I'm going to slip 5 and then work a bobble. Again, you want to make sure that this strand here is loose. So traditional style, knit front, oops, knit back, and then knit front. Turn, purl 3, turn, knit 3, turn, purl 3, turn, and knit 3 together. Okay, you're going to slip with your yarn in the front. So just bring your yarn forward if you knit traditional style. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure that's evenly spread out, and bring your yarn to the back so you could work your bobble. Knit front, knit back, and knit front. turn, purl 3, turn, knit 3, turn again, purl 3, turn, and knit these 3 together. Okay, you can see that the bobbles are in between the previous bobbles. So repeat that all the way to the end. And it's going to be a little different because of the way the strands need to go across the end of the round and the beginning of the round. Okay, so I'm at the end. And because these 5 stitches cross over from one round to another, what we did was we slipped the first 2 with the yarn in the back. Okay, so you don't see any strands right there. So what we're going to do now is slip these 3 with the yarn in the front. 1, 2, 3. And now we're in a new round. So slip your marker. And then the first 2 stitches, we're now going to slip with the yarn in the front. Okay, so you see now we have our strand that goes across the 5 stitches. Okay, so this is where I had picked up the stitch down here so that I could bring the bobbles together. So I'm going to do that here as well. So I'm going to find the main color here, pick it up, place it on the needle, and then I'm going to knit that and the next stitch, which is the bobble, together. Okay, now I'm going to slip 5 and then knit the next one with the stitch below. I don't know if that's even a thing. I'm gonna have to figure out how to put that in writing. So make sure this is loose. Okay, so we're going to say pick up this from behind the strand or the stitch below. Oops, this fell off, didn't it? Okay, so we're going to pick that up, place it on our needle, and then we're going to knit those 2 together. So knit the one you just picked up with the next stitch. And I'm working that through the back loop. Okay. So repeat, slip 5, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn in the back. Pick up the stitch from the round below, place it on your needle, and knit 2 together through the back loop. Make sure that's loose. Yarn in the front and slip 5. So you'll see that bump when you turn it around. Let me take this off and see if I can show it to you better. So it's going to be that bump of the main color right behind it. I need this to be loose. Okay, so I'm at the end here. I'm going to slip the last 3. Remember, this sort of crosses over to the next round. Okay, so now we're at the next round. I'm going to move my marker, So for the first 2 stitches, because in this round you're going to knit every stitch using the main color, so I need this strand to go in between here, so I'm just going to leave it here, and I'm going to knit the first 2 with my main color. Oops. And then I'm going to place my contrasting behind. So now I have the 2 strands I need for this section. Okay, so I'm going to continue to knit every stitch all the way around. And we're going to knit every stitch for 4 rounds, and then we're going to pick up the loose strands. So you want to repeat rounds 1 through 16, and you want to end on round 6 or round 14. So that's the round right before you pull these strands up. So it's going to be the round right before you work your loose strands, right before you work under your loose strands. Okay, round 1 of decrease. So I'm going to start with a decrease. So these 2 stitches, I'm going to knit 2 together. And because I'm working through the back loops, I'm going to insert my needle through both loops through the back like that, okay? And then I'm going to knit. Okay, so now I am going to knit 1, and then I'm going to knit these 2 together again. So it's knit 2 together, knit 1, and then knit 2 together. Now I'm going to knit the next stitch working under these loose strands. So place your needle underneath and knit the next stitch through the back loop and bring it back up. Okay, so the repeat is knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, and then knit under loose strands. Again, all through back loops. So knit 2 together through the back loop. There's 2 strands there. Knit 1 through the back loop and knit 2 together through the back loop. Now I'm going to knit under these loose strands. Come back under and up, and then repeat. Knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, and knit under loose strands. If your stitches get too tight around your needles, you can switch to double pointed needles or just use the modified magic loop method, which is the way I always like to work my decreases. Okay, so I'm going to repeat. Knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, and then knit under loose strands. So the way to look at this, if you're stopping in a different round, this stitch here and this stitch here is the bobble, so those are always going to be knit. There's 5 here where you're going to knit 2 together here, and then the one that you lift from underneath is going to be a knit. And if that was more confusing, just follow the pattern and chart. I'm at the end of my round here. The last stitch is going to be under the loose strands. Okay, and I am done with this round. Okay, round 2 is going to be knit 2 together, knit 2, knit 2 together, knit 2. So when looking at the chart, the blank space that you see are taken away because of the decreases below. So obviously when you work 2 stitches together, you're decreasing those 2 stitches into 1, and because the charts are based on, you know, columns that you can't magically just remove, this is the way you will read it on the chart. So the blank areas is a nose stitch, which means there's nothing there. So you just skip it, pretend it's not there. Okay, so at this point, we're done with the contrasting color. You can cut that off if you don't want it to get tangled up. Just leave a tail to weave it in, but you are done with the contrasting color. Round 2 of decrease, I'm going to knit 2 together through the back loop and knit 2 through the back loop. So 1, 2, and then we just repeat. Knit 2 together, and knit 2. Knit 2 together, and knit 2. So repeat that all the way around. Your stitches will start to get tighter around your needle. And I'm working the smallest size, so I'm still okay working around. It's the next round that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So if it is becoming a challenge, this is what you can do. So just grab a few stitches on this side, and then the tip of your needle will go through a space somewhere. Keep these on the needle. On this side, I only like to keep one. So just fold it and then just have one loop on your needle. So now I'm going to continue. Knit 2 together, my last 2 stitches, knit 2. Move my marker, round 3. It's going to be knit 2 together and knit 1. So it is a quick decrease with just 4 rounds of decreases. So knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, and knit 1. And then you just repeat. So I'm going to slide a few more stitches over here, and on this side it's just going to be 1. I do have a tutorial where I worked a basic beanie, and then I did use a double pointed needle set to close the top. So I'll leave a link for that if you wanted to learn how to use the double pointed needles instead. Okay, so knit 2 together, and I'm almost done, so I'm just going to move the last remaining stitches onto my needle. Knit 1, knit 2 together, and then last stitch, knit 1. Okay. Cut your yarn. Make sure you leave enough to close the top. Grab your tapestry needle. So this type of yarn, the roving wool, it breaks easily. So just make sure when you're pulling that you're not pulling too hard when you're trying to tighten it. So I'm just sliding all the loops, and I'm just pulling them off as if to knit. So I'm inserting my needle as if to knit. And then I'm just going to cinch it up. Okay. I'm going to insert this back in here. Weave in your ends. So I'm going to add a pom-pom, and I'm using one of the ones I purchased from Amazon, but you can use a yarn one if you like. I'll leave links for both of the tutorials. You can make your own, you can buy one, it's up to you. Now you just go ahead and weave in all of your other ends. If you want to tie knots, you can insert your needle right next to the loop where your yarn's coming out of. Wrap the yarn around your needle place your thumb on the base right there, pull it through, and it'll tie a knot. Okay, so now I'm going to put a pom on it. Okay, this purple one wins. So I'm going to cut a piece of yarn here. You can use a smaller thread if you want. I just use whatever I have or whatever I'm using for the main project. So I'm going to, you see how the center is right there? You don't want to put it through the center. You want to put it through the sides a little bit. So I'm just going to choose right about here. And this has a little loop underneath here, like a little band. It's good if you want to swap it out. I'm just going to go right through the actual pom-pom, and I'm going through the sides. Also, this would be good to use a sharper tapestry needle. I'm just using this blunt one here. You can just estimate I'm going through about, I want to say, ½ an inch of space. And what I mean by that is, this is the pom-pom, and I'm inserting my tapestry needle on this end and then out this side like that, so that it has a better grip. Okay, so now we're going to go back in on the opposite side of where we came out here. So I'm just going to go in about right there, and you'll see that holds it better. And I'm going to shake this up before I tie it. So I am just going to knot this baby up. You can weave it in. I'm just going to cut it. Okay, so you can see here where my bobbles spread out. By doing what I did here, I kept my bobbles in a nice round shape. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button. You'll be notified every time I post a video. I'll see you next time.